It's official. We're not going to see the Indianapolis Colts defense with everyone it was intended to have, but they still have a game to play here in a couple days. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Colts, your daily Indianapolis Colts podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right. Welcome to Locked On Colts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. What is up, everybody? This is Jake Arthur, the Indianapolis Colts beat writer for Roundtable Sports. Hope you all had a great Christmas, holiday, whatever you're doing, whether you celebrate or not. Hopefully you guys have been doing well. Today we're going to dive into the matchup that is Colts Jaguars Part 2. They played just a few weeks ago down in Jacksonville. Of course, it was a 36-19 rout for the Jags. It was when Daniel Jones got hurt. Riley Leonard came in. The rain was there. The officiating was brutal. It was, in every sense, a game that you just want to forget and just act as if it never happened. The Colts now get an opportunity to not only keep their season alive, but kind of play spoiler a little bit for the Jaguars. The Jaguars are in the playoffs regardless, but the Colts need this one. They have to win out. They need the Texans to lose out. So by the time they hit the field Sunday, they could already be eliminated from the playoffs if Houston wins on Saturday. But regardless, whether the playoffs are on the line or not, I think we all just want to see the Colts come out with a little bit of pride. The end of the season, the last several years, they have come out and laid these eggs. We can look at each season and point to a moment where it was regrettable. They had the playoffs on the line, like they would win and they were in, and they would lose, or they needed this game and they needed some more help. We're just very much used to seeing them drop these games that they absolutely must have. And again, regardless if they're playing for the playoffs or not on Sunday, you just want to see this be a competitive game. Hopefully a win. Like the Jaguars are good, but they're not unbeatable. Like the Colts, I feel, were a better team earlier in the year as compared to whatever they have turned into on this last 6 or 7 weeks. But yeah, since this previous matchup a few weeks ago, not much has changed. The quarterback definitely has for the Colts. However, Daniel Jones out, Phillip Rivers in. So that's a unique little perspective that the Jaguars will get to see in this one. But otherwise, it's, the Jaguars have been arguably the hottest team in football, and the Colts just keep finding new ways to lose. Defensively, you look at 2 weeks ago against the Seahawks, they kept them out of the end zone, 6 field goals. Awesome performance by the defense. And then last week you go and allow 48 points at home to the 49ers, who good offense, but they were without Ricky Pearsall. They were just they had no business giving up nearly 50 points at home to any opponent, really. But the 49ers, it's kind of one of those things where you come out and it's a career day for late season opponents. You kind of look at the Giants game from last year as well. Again, it's just the kind of stuff you want to see them try to avoid. A lot of pride on the line in this one, regardless of if it's the playoffs or not. Let's go ahead and there's been some big news on the defensive side of the ball today, so we're going to start there. The injuries, it's first and foremost. So out for the Colts on Sunday, DeForest Buckner. He re-aggravated that neck injury that he missed. I think it was 5 games on IR earlier in the season. He returned last week. He re-aggravated it. He is done for the year, unfortunately. That is one of the Colts warriors, like one of their Iron Men. We find out about the just most insane things that Buckner battles through each and every season, during locker cleanout day or late in the year after things have kind of already been said and done. And the things he plays through, just remarkable. This is a guy who he's been pretty banged up these last couple of years, unfortunately. Was on IR earlier the year before with an ankle, earlier this year with the neck. So you just hope for the best with Buckner. Shane Steichen did say, they hope to have him next year out there playing. This isn't something they're really overly worried about, but he's going to have a procedure that's going to end his season. Daniel Scott was also ruled out. He's been on IR since earlier in the year, so that's kind of inconsequential to this iteration of the team. Defensive end JT Tuimoloau is going to be out as well. He's done some nice things, but this oblique injury will keep him out. So with him gone, just expect to see a ton of Samson Ebukam and Tyquan Lewis behind Laiatu Latu and Kwity Paye. Questionable officially is Sauce Gardner. He's been out the last few games, but it's been said he's good to go. Shane Steichen said he'll be fine. So Sauce Gardner is back. He's another one of those kind of what ifs for this season. The Colts traded 2 first-round picks for him, and then he goes out after a couple games and has the calf injury, which big sigh of relief that it wasn't the Achilles, but certainly this trade has not gone the way that everyone kind of hoped for. Nothing this season in the back half has gone the way anybody hoped for. But Sauce Gardner will be back. We'll see who he covers. Probably Brian Thomas Jr. for the most part. Jakobi Meyers does a lot of stuff out of the slot, and then Parker Washington, you can move him around a bit. So we'll see if they just park Gardner opposite of Brian Thomas Jr. Not sure about a pitch count. Shane Steichen was pretty non-committal, basically just said we'll see how the game goes. And then linebacker Buddy Johnson had an illness. He's questionable as well. That's more of a special teams thing, but technically he is a linebacker. Looking at things for the Jaguars, right guard Patrick McCarry is out with a back injury. Offensive players for the Jaguars that are questionable: center Robert Hainsey with a groin injury, running back Bashul Tootin with a finger. So those, Hainsey obviously is a bit more consequential in that one, being their center. But it didn't really matter last time either. I felt like their offensive line was a bit banged up in the previous matchup, and they just kind of controlled things, did whatever they needed to. This is a different Jaguars offense than we're used to seeing. Trevor Lawrence has really hit his stride under the coaching of Liam Cohen. They are doing some really, really good things here. This is arguably the best ball of Trevor Lawrence's career. You got Etienne is playing out of his mind as well. Brian Thomas Jr. has turned it on after his early season slumps. Parker Washington, that I just mentioned a little bit ago, he didn't play in the first matchup, but he'll be active in this one. He's kind of a dude. He's explosive, very dangerous player. And then, of course, Brenton Strange, their tight end. You saw what George Kittle did to the Colts last weekend, so obviously that's a guy you kind of have to have circled in big red marker. But just general thoughts for the Colts defense in this one. With Buckner out, it's not going to be a new scene. Like we mentioned, he was out about 5 games, I think it was, on IR previously. So you're going to see Neville Gallimore. You're going to see more of Adetomiwa Adebaware. Those guys have done some good things. I'm pleased with where the Colts' interior depth is this year compared to previous years. No one is DeForest Buckner, but those guys have played pretty well in his absence this season. So you do worry about the defensive line. Again, the pass rush, where is it? We're in week 17 now, so it feels like madness to just say they're going to turn the corner here. Like, the pass rush is what it is. It's very reliant on Laiatu Latu and then occasionally some other guys getting some wins. They're hardly ever quick wins, and it's almost never consistent. So as always, this will be pretty reliant on Laiatu Latu to disrupt Trevor Lawrence. I would say keep him in the pocket because he's been just nuts out of his mind making plays outside the pocket, especially rolling to his left. The way he's able to kind of deliver the ball super accurately on the run. You obviously want to try and keep him in the pocket, keep him contained, and then get to him. But do the Colts have the horses, so to speak, to make that happen? And then I'm pretty worried, I would say, about the Jaguars receivers. Again, Parker Washington, very, very talented. Brian Thomas Jr., we saw him make a big play down the sideline against Mooney Ward in the previous matchup. And then Jakobi Meyers just has a really, really good connection with Trevor Lawrence. He's doing all the small things. He's blocking really well. He's catching everything. He's making plays downfield. So the Colts have their work cut out for them. I don't want to totally discount what the Colts defense can do because, again, there's a lot of pride on the line. Just a couple weeks ago, we saw them have an outstanding performance on the road in Seattle. A very tough place to play against a very tough offense. So I would really like to think at home at Lucas Oil Stadium that the Colts defense has one more strong stand in them to just not get embarrassed and keep themselves in the game, because I do think the Colts offense is going to be able to do enough to kind of make this thing interesting. And that means we're going to talk about that in just a moment. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. That receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as the guys heat up. You can even bet the next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. Now, as a sign of how things have developed for the Colts, they're 5.5 point dogs at home against the Jaguars this week. Total point over under of 48.5. So do with that what you will. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long into the playoffs. Obviously, we're about to be into the second season. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. All right, the NFL season is in full swing. Like we mentioned, we're about to get into that second season, the playoffs. And there is nothing like being at the game, the crowd noise, the energy, and cheering alongside other fans. Watching at home is great, but being in the stadium just kind of hits different. The frustrating part has always been getting tickets, though, waiting in the queues, dealing with logins, and watching prices change right at checkout. But that's why the Gametime app gives you the advantage back to the fans. It's the hack for unlocking amazing NFL tickets and experiences in just a few taps. The app is incredibly intuitive. Browsing, comparing, and buying tickets just took minutes. One of my favorite features is being able to see the view from your seat before you buy. That way there's just no surprises. We've all kind of seen those viral photos of the terrible seats in each stadium. You know, it feels like no stadium is immune. There's always one where you can only see like a quarter of the field. There's no surprises there when you actually use Gametime. You see exactly what the view of the field is going to be. The zone deals stand out as well. You pick the section, Gametime picks the seats, and then you save even more. So take the guesswork out of buying NFL tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL. That's LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today and get back to being there live. All right, welcome back, everybody. Thank you for making Locked On Colts your first listen of the day, and thank you for making us the #1 sports podcast network out there. If you haven't already, go check out our new Everydayer clubs. You can catch our audio ad-free and get an invite to the members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes a group chat just for listeners of our shows. Go to LockedOnColts.com or LockedOnColts.supercast.com to join or even gift a subscription. Some of us are still doing Christmas stuff right now, so it's a very, very good gift. All right, let's look at the injuries for the Colts offense now. It's that time of year where it's just an absolute laundry list, and the Colts are not immune here. So center Tanner Bortolini is out with a concussion. Wide receiver Anthony Gould is out with a foot. That's also going to affect special teams, of course. He is their chief return specialist. Tight end Drew Ogletree is out with a neck injury. He plays quite a bit. They use him a lot in the blocking game. And he's also gotten involved a little bit more as a receiver recently. And then, of course, quarterback Anthony Richardson Sr. with his eye injury. Don't know that we're going to see him this year. He's got the compromised vision still, and he's a quarterback. So don't really know that you want to put him out there if his vision is not 100%. So with Bortolini out, that's going to put Danny Pinter in the driver's seat. We saw a lot of shifting of the offensive line last week. They had Jalen Travis on the left side, and then they had Matt Gonzalez go from right guard to right tackle, Dalton Tucker at right guard, and then Pinter ultimately had to come in at center. So I think it's going to be a little more normal this week. So with Bernhard Raimann back, which we were about to get to. So Bernhard Raimann is going to be back after missing the last couple of games. He'll be back at left tackle. Jalen Travis will go to right tackle. Gonzalez is going to be there at right guard, and then you'll have Danny Pinter at center with, of course, Quentin Nelson at left guard. And then with Drew Ogletree out, you'll just see more Mo Alley Cox in that instance. Anthony Gould being out, probably more Tyler Goodson in the return game at kick returner. If Ashton Dulin is able to play, I think you'll see him as well. Amir Abdullah got in the doghouse a little bit last week for a fumble. Don't know if they're going to take him out or not, so we'll see there. And then, let's see, questionable. We mentioned Ashton Dulin with his hamstring. He has been on IR. He's been able to practice this week. Tyler Goodson missed the first 2 days of practice and then was back today with his ankle injury. We mentioned Bernhard Raimann is back with the elbow. Dalton Tucker is questionable with a shoulder. He had to start last week at right guard, but then got banged up during the game. So, again, he is questionable. Hopefully won't need him regardless because Matt Gonzalez will be back at right guard. But, yeah, looking at the Jaguars side of things, cornerback Jordan Lewis is now out for the year on IR with a foot injury. He's a really talented player for them. Linebacker Jalen McLeod, ankle. He's out. And then one of their better, underappreciated edge guys, Danny Strigo, he's going to be out with an ankle. That's a guy who a lot of Colts fans probably aren't super familiar with him, but he gives them a lot of value nonetheless as a rotational player. Trevon Walker did not play in this previous matchup, I don't believe, if I remember correctly, but he's back now. He's going to play. And yeah, that's a guy who they move him around. He's explosive. They could do a lot of things with him. So Josh Hines Allen is out there. That's going to be a tough call. I do like the fact that with Phillip Rivers, you have someone who's obviously statuesque against a talented front seven, really, because you have Olakun back there at linebacker. You got some guys that can do things. Devin Lloyd, I think 5 picks on the year, had an interception against Daniel Jones last time. You've got a really good, I think, front seven for Jacksonville. But Phillip gets rid of the ball quickly. He's not going to hold on to it quite as long as Daniel Jones. And with Daniel Jones, I felt like he was kind of just figuring things out all the time when he was working through his fibula injury. But Rivers is who he is. As soon as he, hit the field against Seattle, I think things expanded a little bit last week, and now we're probably going to see, again, a little bit more of what we saw last week. He really didn't push the ball down the field whatsoever against Seattle, but I thought he pushed it for whatever that means for him. That's not going to mean like a lot of deep shots or anything, but like he moved it beyond the sticks quite a bit last week. And I think we might continue to see that. That's one thing you can do against Jacksonville's defense. I think you definitely want to try and get it behind the sticks, behind the front seven, because if you're just kind of playing half court, it's going to be tough to deal with that team there. Alec Pierce, he had a good game against them a few weeks ago. Obviously, he had the 2 touchdowns, a big game last week. We can all kind of hope and pray that Jonathan Taylor finally gets involved. But Jacksonville has been arguably the best run defense in the league. They're so staunch against the run. And, late season matchups for Jonathan Taylor against the AFC South usually create some huge opportunities, some big performances, especially at home. But I don't know. We're going to have to see it. It's been, 5 games since he's had a 100-yard game. Since he had that MVP moment against the Falcons in Germany, he really has not been able to break out much at all since then. This would be a great time for it because their offense is just not the same when they're not running the ball effectively. But it's just one of those things they're going to have to show us again before we can believe it. if they're going to win this one, I'm looking at Alec Pierce. I'm looking at Jonathan Taylor. You might have to have some sort of X factor step up as well. Like if Ashton Newland plays, maybe Josh Downs. You're missing Jordan Lewis if you're the Jaguars secondary, so maybe that can create some things for Downs. But it's going to be tough. If the Colts are going to win this at all, I think it's going to have to be just kind of like an ugly 20-17, 20-16 kind of affair. But we'll get into kind of the general thoughts here in just a moment. But yeah, the offense, I think when you look at Rivers' lack of mobility, that's going to be a challenge. But 100 times out of 100, he's going to be probably the smartest player on the field. So I think that's always a feather in the cap they have. I'm worried about when you look at the interception he had to the linebacker, that was the pick six last week. Devin Lloyd from the Jaguars, the linebacker, he feasts on stuff like that all day long. He is one of the better pass coverage linebackers in the entire NFL. And so I would like to think that Rivers isn't going to really test him there, but when you look at the middle of the field, things get muddy, and it's harder to see what's going to happen, who's going to break on what. So that's definitely an area I would think the Colts need to be super cognizant of. But coming up next, guys, we're going to talk about our final thoughts here, what's going to happen, who is going to win. We'll talk about that in just a moment. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. The holiday season is one of the best times for sports. Bowl games, big basketball matchups, playoff pushes. It's all happening at once, and while we're all making choices every day, one of the most fun places to make the right call is at PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the easiest way to get in on daily fantasy. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, lock in your lineup, and you're in the game. It's simple, fast, and available in 45 states, including California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia. Creating a lineup takes less than a minute, and the app makes the whole process smooth and intuitive. The early payout feature is a great bonus. That means when your lineup starts strong, you may actually get the option to cash out early. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. All right, guys. So here in the comments, if you haven't already, go ahead and drop your thoughts on how this one is going to end. I do not know how. I just really don't know how to pick this one because you don't know what Colts team is going to show up. If you're getting the road team in Seattle, then I think the Colts could win this one. If you're getting last week where they just rolled over and died, at least on the defensive side of the ball, then they've got no chance. Because that defense is already shorthanded enough. You just can't deal with performances like that. I do think I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say they're going to close out their home schedule with one more tough go of it. Their defense is going to show up. The offense, I think when you got a quarterback like Phillip Rivers, you're always going to be capable of getting to 17 to 20 points. I think this might be the first time I've picked the Colts to lose all year, or one of the very few times, but it's going to be really hard for me to pick them right now. Obviously, their finals, 6 losses in the final 7 games. I'm going to have them losing 20-17 to Jacksonville at home. That one hurts. I think Houston's probably going to win on Saturday. So the Colts going into this one will already be eliminated from the playoffs by the time they kick off on Sunday. And then, with the extra insult to injury, a loss here against the Jaguars at Lucas Oil Stadium to close out the season. It's just, I hate to pick against them, but we've just seen this movie before. This season has unraveled into a nightmare. When you look at DeForest Buckner's injury, just the litany of injuries throughout the season, they finally just came crashing down in this back half of the year. Daniel Jones fights through what he's got, and then, the cruel twist of fate where he has his Achilles injury. It's just the football gods at one point was saying the Colts, this is your year, and then right after that, it's just like, absolutely not. You're going to have to wait your turn. Nothing is going to go right for you. And it's just been a really weird season in that way, because any help the Colts have needed from other teams, any calls they've needed to go their way, like from officials, it's all been such oddly timed scenarios. It's really hard to pick them in this one, just because they haven't earned their trust back yet. It's been tough because even in their losses, they have controlled games pretty much in each of them, with the exception of Jacksonville and then last week against San Francisco. They should have beaten Houston. They should have beaten the Chiefs. They should have beaten the Seahawks. But then you've got last week, which was this year's version of them going into New York and just totally melting down. How do you trust a team that allows themselves to do that? I guess if you're looking for solace in one area, it's that the offense played well enough to win. Phillip Rivers, I think, played well enough to win. But the defense just totally turned into whatever that was. But yeah, if we're just airing our grievances there, that's one way to look at it. But just looking at this game specifically, I do think they'll have, a little bit of fight left in them. I'm not even going to forecast what Houston's going to look like next week with that defense and with the quarterback the Colts have right now. But for Jacksonville, at least this game only, I'm going to give them a solid performance, but it just will be a little bit short. Again, 20-17, I'll pick the Jaguars in this one. If you guys, again, if you haven't already, go ahead and drop your predictions in here. I think that's going to be it for us today, guys. Again, if you need any last-minute holiday gift ideas, we still have the weekend here. A lot of us still have to travel around, and divorced families, in-laws, all this stuff. We all have our Christmases to finish up here. If you need any last-minute ideas, or just someone keeps asking you what you want and you're an adult so you don't know what to give or what to tell them, ask for the Everydayer Club. It's ad-free episodes of this show, the exclusive Discord server access, and more. Subscriptions can be gifted through lockedoncolts.supercast.com. For those of you watching on video, hang tight and we'll send you over to the first ever 24/7 National NBA YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen of the day the Locked On NFL podcast. If you don't already, follow at Locked On Colts, at Jake Arthur NFL, and at ZachX2 on Twitter. We're also on TikTok and Instagram as well. Also, please be sure to subscribe on YouTube and wherever you listen to podcasts. We would love your guys' ratings and reviews as well. And with that, you have a great weekend, and we'll see you guys Sunday after the game for the Colts Squad Show.